Is this a smoking gun?
I don't see it. I think Donald Trump's associates, his son, Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, they're guilty of being unscrupulous. They're guilty of stooping to lows that we really haven't seen before in American politics. I'm not sure they're guilty of criminality. If I were in their position, I would not feel comfortable meeting with a Russian who's likely working for the Russian intelligence services, by the way. I wouldn't feel comfortable meeting with someone who's working for an intelligence service of a foreign country that's hostile to my own country in order to defeat a political opponent in the United States. But that's me. And I'm not sure that there's laws against what transpired. For there to be evidence of collusion, which is the term that you're hearing a lot of, we would need to see evidence of members of the campaign actively working with Russian government officials to plan the release of the stolen information, the hacked information of Democratic Party servers and emails. There would need to be actual evidence of collaboration, of cooperation, and working together to release that information. That we have not seen yet. We've seen a lot of other things. We've seen the Russian government clearly putting out feelers to different elements of the Trump campaign, whether it's Carter Page or whether it's someone like Roger Stone or even Paul Manafort. But we haven't seen, in my opinion, collusion.
Haven't seen collusion. Jamie, just for our viewers here, let's situate this. June 2016, it's a month before those WikiLeaks revelations about emails inside the Clinton campaign, inside the Democratic Party. What does this meeting tell you? And do you take it face value when Donald Trump Jr. says that the meeting, quote, went nowhere?
Well, I don't really take anything that members of the Trump family say at face value. But look, all we're depending upon are leaks that were given to the New York Times. We don't know what transpired in this meeting other than what the New York Times is reporting. And what it's reporting is that this lawyer approached the campaign promising information, alleging some sort of dirty dealings in the Clinton campaign. She came and didn't actually offer anything on that, but instead she wanted to talk about lifting sanctions on Russia. That is not evidence of criminality.
Not evidence of criminality. What's going to happen now, though? Because it does add to this steady drip. And we saw, Jamie, lots of, on the Sunday political talk shows in the United States, lots of criticism leveled at Trump from inside his own Republican Party.
Look, I mean, I've been on your program many times during the campaign, and I was raising alarm about Donald Trump and Russia. But you know what? What was really disturbing was that Donald Trump was very open in his beliefs about Vladimir Putin and Russia. He made no attempt to hide the fact that he was a very pro-Russian presidential candidate, that he admired Vladimir Putin, that he wanted to work with the Russians. And you know what? The American people voted for him. And it wasn't a result that I'm happy with. I wasn't happy with it during the campaign. I complained and I criticized, and it was all very public, and the American people voted for him. So unless there's evidence of some criminal conspiracy that emerges between the Russian government and the Trump campaign, which I am perfectly willing to wait and see the information, I haven't seen it yet. And I don't think that anyone who's really a lawyer and who knows the facts can tell you that they've seen it yet either. And I think Democrats need to do a better job focusing on winning back those voters that they lost to Donald Trump. And they need to do a better job convincing the American people that Russia is a threat. Because clearly not enough of the American people believed that, or else they wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump last year.
How do you think Trump handled Vladimir Putin at their first face-to-face meeting at the G20 summit in Germany?
Not very well. I think he went in clearly unprepared. He went in like a little boy who was wowed by someone that he was very impressed with. Whereas Vladimir Putin is a hardened autocrat who spent a career in the KGB, who really knows how to read people, to make a psychological profile of them. And I think he had some very clear, determined goals that he wanted to get out of the meeting, whereas Trump didn't have any idea what he was doing at all. And he did get something out of it. He got some sort of cooperation on a ceasefire deal in Syria. There was this proposal of a potential cybercrime committee that the United States would form with Russia, which is a little bit like asking the fox to guard the henhouse, although now Donald Trump says that such a task force won't be set up. But I clearly think that the Russians came out of this meeting the winners, and the United States comes out looking like we don't really have a clear message. It's unclear. You have Rex Tillerson saying some things about what transpired in the meeting. You have Donald Trump saying other things. You have the Russians claiming that Donald Trump agreed with them, that Russia did not interfere in the election, and that Donald Trump actually takes the side of Vladimir Putin over his own intelligence agencies. So it's not good for the United States.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the press coverage here in France and also in Germany is that basically this G20 summit was 19 against 1, the one being the United States. Do Americans care?
I think some Americans clearly, the majority of Americans who give Donald Trump a poor approval rating, he has low approval ratings, I think those Americans care. But among the Americans who voted for him, I think they actually take some sort of pleasure in this. I think they wanted a belligerent nationalist who would sort of tell the world where to stick it. And I think that was mostly what guided his decision on pulling out of the Paris Agreement on climate change. And this was a voluntary agreement. The United States was not legally bound to anything to limit our carbon emissions. It was all voluntary. But I think Trump did this because it was an easy way for him to show to his base, look, I'm standing up for America and I'm telling the rest of the world, which hates us and is trying to limit us and trying to prevent us from growing our economy and whatnot, I'm telling them who's boss. And so it's a lot of gestural politics. And so I think a lot of his supporters, they don't really see the importance of allies, certainly not in Europe. They think that it's all against all, that world politics is a zero-sum game, that everyone's out there to get us and to undermine us. And so they like seeing Trump behave in this fashion.
Jamie Kirchick, a visiting fellow at the Brookings Institute, many thanks for speaking with us again here on France 24.